Hello again. We're focusing on the costs now. I wanted to update that real quick. So here are your costs that your company is incurring. So these are all the costs minus the capital expenditures, which we just discussed in the previous video. So these are more of your operating expenses. So things that you're going to be paying for that you cannot realize the value for in the following year. So you're going to be paying for them and you're going to, realize that value over, that instant or over the next few months. These are operating expenses. So starting from the top and going down. Again, when we talk about costs, think about the costs that are associated to your business. You see here we have direct costs. So direct costs are things that are directly associated with building your product. This could be Amazon Web Services if you have a website, GoDaddy for your actual domain name. You can have any sort of third-party service providers, things of that nature. If you don't have a web-based company, this could be direct cost is also called cost of goods sold. So this could also be like, let's say you have a shoe company and you're producing sneakers. Your direct costs are going to be anything that are associated to the materials that you're using to build and create those shoes. So it could be, the material, like the sole of the shoes. It can be the shoestring. It can be any, laces or things that you're using to embroider the shoes. Whatever it is, those are your direct costs. Things that are directly associated to building your product, and your product will not survive without them, essentially. And this is different than other, regular business operating costs, such as G&A. So G&A is general and administrative costs. So that's like marketing, legal, accounting, business services, and fees. So these are other kinds of costs that aren't directly associated to the product, but it just, these are costs that you have to incur because you own a business and you're trying to keep, up with your business. So we just covered the direct costs. But beneath that, we have salary and benefits. So if you yourself, you're employed and you are in a leadership or management position, you want to update this number to 1 or 2 or how many people are on your leadership team. And then if you have any employees that you hired, you can update this number as well. And that'll give you your total employees that you have. When we move on to salaries and benefits, I broke it out by leadership and then by the other employees. And these salaries are averages. So let's say you have, 3 employees and 2 of them are getting paid $50,000 a year and one of them is getting paid $100,000 a year. So you want to use the average of all 3 of them to calculate this. It's not the sum because we're essentially going to be taking this number and multiplying it out down here, and you'll understand how that works. But yeah, so use the average salary per person, not the sum. If you want to break it out by the actuals, then you'll just have to add in more line items for each person which you've hired. So I don't know, cost benefit analysis, if that's worth your time, go for it. If not, feel free to just use it how it is. So first, the leadership management. I'll move over here because I have numbers populated. So we have 2 here in the fiscal year of 2021. We have 2 people in a leadership management position, and we've hired 1 employee. So the average salary is $30,000 for those 2 people, which means we have a total of $60,000. And let's say that the benefits are 5% of the salary, so that would be $3,000, which gives you a total of $63,000 that you're paying to leadership, salary, and benefits. And then in the same manner, it just calculates everything for your employees. So you have 1 employee who's getting paid $50,000. Benefits is at 9%, and then here you get calculated, and this is a total of both of those numbers. And then down below here, we have marketing expenses. So you can break this out into a few different line items to differentiate the kinds of marketing tactics that you're using for your company. Maybe you're using paid advertisements, social media influencers. Maybe you're creating merchandise and you want to loop that into this. You can create different lines for marketing. I just grouped them all into one. Um, and then beneath that, we have our other expenses. So if you have a lawyer, an accountant, you're using, services such as Zoom or Dropbox or, things like that. Any fees that you're incurring with your bank, or other fees that you're incurring as a business, you want to make sure all of that is captured down here. This can kind of be like a bucket to capture all of your other expenses if you just don't know where to put them. So that's how to read this. And then all of your yearly expenses get captured down here. So again, this is based on the entire year for the fiscal year. And then in the next tab, it breaks it out by month. So it's the same exact format, just broken out by month. You don't need to change anything here. It's just read only. Make sure that everything's working. You can expand and collapse these sections if you think that it's easier to read like this. But yeah, that's costs. And then lastly, we'll go over the break-even analysis next.